Welcome to the Prime TSR Tech Talk. Today we're going to try to spend some time going through a modern development practice, how you would build one from scratch, and if you've got an existing development team, how do you try to modernize them? So, Lysander, let's start with, if you were building one from scratch, what does a modern team look like?
So I would say, starting from scratch, you want to identify the roles that you need, because the way you're going to tackle work is with small cross-functional teams that have all of the skill sets that you need, right? Because you want to take the work, break it down into small bite-sized chunks, but you want to have everybody involved. That
Do you base it like around Scrum or Agile, or just?
yeah, I mean, you're going to use Agile principles, so
Do you have to?
well, I don't know that you have to. That's a common thing now, right? So, and when you say Agile, there are a number of practices, Scrum, Kanban, Lean, that you can, I guess, use as the foundation for how you approach work. Most companies are going to lean towards one of them. In my experience, most organizations tend to use Scrum, and with Scrum, you're going to have a set of ceremonies. You're going to have, so within a Scrum team, you're going to have a person that owns the backlog, product owner, and they're typically someone from the business, or that has the business point of view at heart. Scrum Master, which is the person that's going to be responsible for leading the team through Scrum, and then developers, QA, folks from infrastructure, possibly DevOps, maybe even from the business that all participate together. But the idea is that the team functions as one unit and they own the problem, right? They're empowered to actually do the work and get things done. And if there's blockers, the Scrum Master will be the person that tries to resolve those blockers by working with any external stakeholders that would need to chime in to help clear those blockers. The idea is to try to deliver value quickly, right? So taking a large problem, breaking it down into small pieces, and then quickly through what we're calling sprints, and those sprints could be 2 weeks up to a month, but some predefined length of time that the team will work on smaller chunks, and the goal is to deliver the output of those sprints on whatever the sprint cadence is to your customers, so that you can get feedback and iterate on the problem that you're solving quicker, right? Whereas, when we started 20 years ago, most projects were following a waterfall methodology where you'd have an idea, you do your analysis, do your design in a very linear fashion, build, deploy, and it could take 6 months, a year, 2 years, depending on the size of the project. But you didn't realize the results until you got closer to the end. Whereas with agile methodologies, you're trying to realize results sooner. It's not everything at once, but you're trying to get things out in front of customers at a faster pace.
So if that's the ideal of you have all the pieces wrapped into it, what's the reality of most companies?
I would say today most companies, especially existing ones, kind of fall in the middle, right? They were waterfall. They realize that they need to be more agile. And they're struggling to let go of some of the waterfall principles. So, in Scrum, for instance, one of the ideas is that you don't document. Well, if that's not true, it's just that things are different. You don't sit down and write a 300-page spec like you would in a waterfall project. But all the information that's in that spec needs to be created. It's just created in a different way, and it's created over time rather than upfront.
So in the reality of, we've seen it a lot where people, they are using Agile or Scrum or whatever method they're using as more of a tool to get more people, or a tool to try to explain why they're behind. We're trying to make the Agile transformation, or we didn't get product people in the boat, or it seems to almost, some of it's where we go into clients where they're already in trouble, but almost like it's in the way, trying to make a conversion from waterfall to Agile.
Well, it's tough, and sometimes the right thing to do may be setting aside the Agile transformation, going back to what you did well, getting that work done, and then regrouping, right? Or if delivering results sooner is what the business needs, then you got to think about maybe bringing in new people or additional folks to help coach a team through. I mean, having someone that's an expert in the process and leaving them kind of external and not necessarily focus on the delivery, but on the how you go about the work and coaching the individuals in the team. And that might be a tool that organizations could and should use.
So we've seen the training go awry of companies trying to bring in a Scrum master, an Agile master, or an Agile person and make the transformation. But the reality of what we've seen is that it's hard to make that transformation. It's hard to get people to think out of the waterfall mentality. I mean, I do it in infrastructure world. I'm looking forward to what do I need to complete. It's like, well, we'll build all the servers, we'll load all the hardware, and then we'll give it to you.
But that's where I think you have to find champions too, right? A few folks that are going to be in the mix day to day that believe in it and will hopefully help drag along some other folks. Right? You can't grab just any group of people, give them training, and expect that they're just going to behave differently. You have to find at least one or two people that get it and buy in, and will hopefully, I mean, I hate to say this, but if worst case they drag the group along, and hopefully it gets better over time. And again, if it doesn't, then you have to stop and examine what you're doing.
I also don't think you can dictate the change. I don't think you can have management come in and say, we are going to become Agile tomorrow. Here's your training, go do it. You really need either that sample project or a champion to push you along, or even.
But management has to support the team, right?
Oh, because it's going to be expensive. I mean, if you're making the transformation, you're going to lose ground in your roadmap for the year.
Right. But I mean, even as the team tries to adapt and make changes, if they're struggling or they need someone to help clear blockers, that's where management comes in and supports the folks that are champions. They can't be top down like you said, but they have to be right there, with their hand on the back of the group that's trying to make the improvements.
Have you seen a case where an empowered champion can make that difference, can bring a whole team along?
Yeah. I mean, it's rare, and when I've seen it work, it's because that person was special and the team respected them, and they were special enough and good enough that they didn't. It gets to a point where if the group starts to see things work, they don't want to be the reason why things fail. And, that peer pressure, once you do start seeing results, it's real. And, you don't want to be the guy that causes something to fail, but you have to find that right person to spark and start to get good results.